Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Get Jasched. I'm so excited for the yap that we're going to have today because I have Chelsea Quint joining me. So, Chelsea is the business whisperer, host of the Resonance Effect podcast, and is an ex-corporate marketer turned messaging strategist who helps brilliant founders get their genius offers seen and sold. Chelsea cut her teeth in marketing for major brands and now uses her expertise to help entrepreneurs break through the noise, with her approach treating business building as both art and science, as it should be, because that's what it is. When she's not helping clients, you can find her on the east coast of the US with her chef husband, Corgi, most importantly, and two cats, trying to eat Mexican food for every meal. I got excited. Like I was like, oh yeah, that's so good.
Yeah, I know, right?
And improvising songs about what our pets are thinking. Double feels. So
Yes,
thanks so much for joining me. I'm so excited.
my pleasure. This is going to be good. It's going to be
Mm,
good. Thank you for going through my entire intro. I know it's long, and as we will see, I am a long-winded girly. I am a
I love it.
long-winded, long-form girly, and
Me.
I just live in the land of nuance,
Yeah. Well,
long-form nuance.
I felt like all those parts of your intro were important, especially the last part, like even though it's not got to do
Hmm.
with business, because it's such a like I resonate. I love Mexican food. You know, we are like, I was just saying to the dog before, I was dancing along and she's just laying on the couch. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I spend a lot of my time dancing for you, and you just spend so much
Yes.
time looking unimpressed. So all of these are important factors.
Yes, they are. They are.
Mhm. But I want to get into your recent season on your podcast, The Resonance Effect. You talk a lot about a trust recession at the moment, and that is super true. As a business owner, I can kind of see it, but I think we see it across the board. And
Mhm.
while you talk about it mostly in the context of buying and for business owners, do you see this, or how do you see this across the board in areas like leadership or how people are communicating and the impact on trust at the moment?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
The answer to do I see this elsewhere is yes. That's a very, very clear yes. And I think, I mean, we just named nuance, and then I'm going to go into something that I actually think there's probably, I think there's probably a corrosion of trust in every aspect of life these days, because whether we're talking about, being small business owners, which is the zone that I talk about in my, public facing work life a lot, whether we're talking about selling to other business owners or to consumers in the small business world, it also is happening in terms of the way that how much people are trusting leaders at large in terms of political authority, the way that people are trusting, countries at large, the way that people are trusting a general sense of safety and a general sense of things are going to be okay, a general sense of I can take risks. I think that's one of the biggest ways that we know um, there is a corrosion of trust is that people being less willing to take risks, whether it's in leaving a job and taking a risk to find something new, or in hiring someone. Like the devil you know, there's so much of the devil you know is better than the devil you don't kind of thinking and acting. I think across the way that people are spending, the way that people are traveling or not traveling, the way that people are like even relating with one another. I think it's going to be really interesting, more so than normal this time of year, because you and I are recording this a week before American Thanksgiving,
Mm.
which is classically a time when, at least in my side of the algorithm in the internet, and with my peers and friends, it's pretty classically a time where there are so many conversations about, you know, how do we navigate the conversations with our bigoted aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, our, racist family members or whatever it might be. And in times past, it's a different conversation than it it is now, because now there's definitely different. I mean, I just heard from someone who's the who it is anyway. Someone's not going to their family Thanksgiving because they're based in Chicago and they're concerned that that their mother may be taken and kidnapped by ICE agents, which is a totally valid fear right now. And
Yeah.
yet, so I mean, in terms of, I mean, living in the United States right now, and for quite a number of years at this point, has been quite a dystopian iteration of lack of trust. But I think that it's trickling over to just about everything, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like everyone's on edge, and rightly so in a lot of ways, in many ways, especially
Hmm.
for you all over there. But, I know I feel vigilant in how that leaks into our own sort of
Absolutely.
arena over here in Australia, like, because it's relevant, and
Hmm.
it does feel different than it has, in the past, where you're like, oh, that's just, silly aunt whoever, or silly uncle, or whatever, right? Like, you can
Right,
we used to, generally speaking, we used to be able to kind of laugh or brush it off and just ignore it and keep the peace and all of that.
right.
But it feels like the stakes are too high in a lot of ways,
Exactly.
genuinely, like you said, like, people's lives are at risk. People's
Hmm.
people's lives are at risk. That's just
Yeah,
the full
that's the
stop.
truth. Yeah.
And I feel like that does ripple out into a lot of other areas, because there is this natural, very understandable, almost necessary vigilance in a way. But yeah, it ripples out into how we connect with other people. I know I feel vigilant, and I love connecting with people, and it's that balance of trying not to judge people and allowing people to have their
Hmm.
own, like, their own beliefs and experience in a way. But then
Hmm.
it's this element of this challenge of, at what point do the beliefs cross the line into, that's not just an opinion or a harmless opinion or your own, and that's actually bigoted or damaging and genuinely dangerous. And
Yeah,
like, I'm feeling that, and that might be my hyperfixation kind of thing, but it does
sure.
feel important. Like, it does feel important because yeah, it's this, as a business owner, it's not wanting to sort of really associate with, or platform, or associate and work with someone or a company that is
Hmm.
damaging to the
Hmm.
literal health and life of other people.
Hmm.
But then it's also like, well, I'm a sole trader. I don't have the resources to really figure that
Yeah,
out sometimes, like, to go back and, like,
sure.
so yeah, it's such a genuine thing that people are experiencing at the moment. And I think it does
Yeah,
compound on itself. And you can see why, but it also makes it hard because, yeah, we're all tired. Our nervous systems are fried. And I'm not even in
absolutely.
your country, but that's
Yeah,
how it feels.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm so glad this notion, there's a really interesting thing here that's happening with trust and just the whole nebulous of what we're talking about. So you're saying, as a founder, I share
Mhm.
this value. As a founder, you don't want to be supporting or helping develop the business necessarily, or helping platform someone whose beliefs are, I would categorize it as like against humanity,
Yes.
as
Yeah.
like inhumane,
Yes.
or whose beliefs or practices, right? And I share that completely. I was actually a friend of mine has as one of her pinned posts. Some I can't remember exactly what the language is, but something to the effect of, in case it wasn't obvious, let me be clear. If you
Mhm.
voted for Donald Trump, I don't want your money. I don't
Mhm.
care how much. I will not help you make more money. She's a copywriter. And she's like, I
Yeah.
will not let my words make more money for someone who made that decision. And very, very clearly has that named, it's pinned, it's the first thing
Yeah.
you see pretty much on her Instagram page, which makes a lot of sense. And I've definitely posted, I think I have something, mine is definitely more subtle, but I've
Mhm.
definitely made these references as well. I've made it very clear. Well, I think, God, who knows? It feels very clear to me, but I also feel like I sell literally every day, and people are like, oh, I didn't know you had an offer on right now. So
Yeah.
who the
Wild.
heck knows? Who the heck knows? But the other piece, the nuance piece here is, while of course it is a perfectly reasonable, like I also don't want to really work with anyone who has made those choices or who feels that way. It's really interesting to look at then, okay, let's future cast this a little bit. Let's forecast this a little bit. If I
Mm,
decide that in my professional life, I won't engage with anyone who made this voting decision, and therefore anyone who sees that is going to be, even if they live in Oz or they live in France or they live in wherever, right? Anyone who sees that, who shares, like, oh, actually, I like that guy, or actually, I am afraid of immigrants and want them to be removed from the country, whatever. Anyone else who
mm,
shares that is also probably going to be like, okay, no, I'm not going to follow Chelsea. I'm not going to listen to her. I'm not going to consume this content. Okay. So all of a sudden, we're not we're not connecting. We're not
mm.
talking. And
Yeah.
I'm only in this more of this echo chamber over here with my friend Mac, where we're like, don't hire us. We're not gonna work with you, right? Like, and we're over
Yeah.
here, and our algorithms are looking more and more like this. And the folks who are like, okay, well, screw them because they're saying this, I'm gonna go over here and work with a business coach who did vote for Trump and does like it or whatever.
Yeah.
Though I'm like, I hope no business coaches did. Of course they did. Of course someone did. Um, but I hope no one in my industry did. Of course they did.
Mm,
But all of a sudden, it just brings up this really kind of messy, not super comfortable reality of it's the same deal that we've been playing around. If I just ignore the fact that my father-in-law twice voted for Trump, and I'm going to be like, okay, I'm not going to be the one who makes a stir because everyone else is uncomfortable and we don't want to talk about it. If I do it there, if I don't engage with in conversation with people who are perpetuating racism in my industry, if we don't do this, then it's really what at what point are things going to change, right?
yeah, it
Because
perpetuates the echo
yeah,
chamber, like on both
exactly.
sides. Yeah.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly. And it also dehumanizes it makes it so much easier because we're more and more and more and more in an algorithmically driven world that
Hmm.
that has already that makes like makes information and connection challenging, right?
Yeah.
And then when you add these really jarring, high nervous system intensity subjects and topics, when you add these things in and we are suddenly, none of us are speaking to each other, I'm like, this is, how are we going to create change from
Yeah.
here?
Yeah. You
Where we're
can't bridge.
villainizing the other side.
Yeah, you can't
And
bridge
like,
the
I do
divide.
villainize them. I do. I'm not saying I'm like, I think it is wrong. I think it is so
Hmm.
wrong. But that binary, there is so, there becomes basically no room to connect. And
Mm.
I'm not saying it's easy. It's hella uncomfortable to imagine the notion of sitting down and trying to listen to someone who supports any of the violent, inhumane injustices that have been happening in this country and around the world and in Gaza. I mean, it's hard to
Yeah.
imagine. And how the hell are we going to change anything if we can't?
Yeah, exactly. And it's this challenge of s- creating room for people. And look, I know about position myself. I'm the right one, right? But like I'm the correct, I'm in the right. I know this is how this is going to sound, but it is about creating room. I'm going to say it anyway. It's about creating room for
Say it
people
anyway.
to,
Yep.
yeah, to amend and improve because and like because I like to think that if I do make a mistake, and I will, like I'm human, I'm not perfect. I'm a white woman. Like I'm gonna fuck up. Like I'm not trying
Hmm.
to, but I'm going to. That is just the inevitability of it. But I also need to have room to learn. And sometimes like we have I'm not trying to fuck up, but sometimes we learn by fucking up. And we
Hmm.
have to have room to actually do that U-turn, that turnaround, like turn the vehicle around and go, okay, like this, I'm changing direction, I'm changing course, I'm trying to do better. We have to have room for that. And if we want room for that, we have to give other people room for that, while at the same time having room for accountability
Yeah.
and consequence if it's at that level. Like I was just saying before, I really can't wait for Nuremberg Trials Part 2. Like
Truly. Yeah. Yes.
truly cannot wait. Like not because I
Hmm.
want people to be punished, but because that is where it's at. Like it's like
Absolutely.
this is where it's at, and
Yes.
that's a hope that I'm holding on to, because looking at history, it's like cool, not cool, but at least there was some consequence, real life,
Right.
actual tangible so but
Right.
it is this balance of holding humanity and also, allowing people to do better. And that doesn't absolve any of us of some of the things. But yeah, it's such a
Right.
balance, and it's that is challenging. It's really hard when you're in it. And it's I think it's a constant practice, because otherwise, like you said, we do cut ourselves off from connection from each other. It perpetuates more distrust, which
Right.
may, and not even speaking like from the business of, the business owner perspective of, oh, like how do we buy then? Like no one's gonna buy, but it is like,
Yeah. I'm so beyond that in this moment of the conversation.
yeah.
Like,
But for me, it's like I've had conversations with like potential clients who
yep.
have very clearly not been a fit politically, but it's not because
Mm,
I'm the immediate no of this. It's because I know that, so I do leadership trainings, and it's like embodied
right.
leadership. So some
Yeah.
of those trainings include a very factual, very like textbook case of analyzing different styles of leadership and just looking at
Mm,
different styles. And I will use real life examples and, as best I can, current examples of certain styles of leadership. So when it comes to autocratic
right.
leadership,
You've
as
got
much as I,
many examples.
yeah, but as much as I hate
Present
having
day.
that particular picture, I hated putting it on the slide, but I'm like, you know what? We need to actually do it. I'm just
Yeah.
going to speak about it. And it's not from like, as the facilitator in that moment, it's not from the place of being divisive and trying to be like, oh, see, Republicans are all bad. Like, it's not that at all. Because,
No.
like, it's not, I'm in Australia. Like, it's not even about,
Right.
it's not even
Right.
like a partisan issue. It's literally
Yeah.
just whose behaviors fit the
Is
textbook.
autocratic.
Yeah, fit the textbook
Yeah.
definition. So in these conversations with certain, at that stage, potential clients going,
Yeah.
oh, it's not just that you're saying these things and I don't agree with them. It's that I know that if I come in to your team, your workplace, and talk about this, I know that that is going to create an issue for you or between
Mm,
us. And you're not open to that. And it is a judgment, but
right.
you kind of just have to make those judgments sometimes. Like it's kind
Absolutely.
of from that place. So it is a constant balance, and I've had the conversation with people as well where they're like, well, what if you could, like not convince people, but like if you work with people that are different politically from you, you could help them
Hmm.
see other perspectives. I'm like, yeah, that can't be the aim. That can't
Right.
be that's a lot of work. And also that's kind of insulting to free will and democracy in a way where people do have, like, I'm not going in to swing anyone, but
Right.
as long as they're open to just the facts, which is where it comes down to. And yeah, it's such a balance in how we connect with each other
Yeah.
in that way.
It's a balance, and God's honest truth right now, it's just a mess. It's a mess. This
Mm,
planet's a mess. It's
mm,
a mess. And we
yeah.
are all doing our best. And I guess I think the biggest thing that I keep trying to come back to is just checking where, like, I know pretty clearly where I stand. There's certain political and human rights based opinions that I have that I don't think will change.
Mm.
But I'm sure people feel the same way on the other side. I don't know. I truly cannot imagine how someone would think that what ICE is doing is correct, or that's the one that's in my brain recently because I had a conversation this week. But any of these myriad things, I just cannot imagine it. But still, it is so easy when we're thinking about, right, this idea of trust and the trust recession. It's so easy and natural. It is a natural human response to lean back into our own cognitive biases and limit information, again, especially where we're just in an algorithm driven
Yeah.
news media information environment, now algorithm and AI driven. It's
Mm,
really, really, it's so important to me to do my best to um, basically like not just put my own blinders on and fall prey to my own biases. And
mm,
that is so hard. And sometimes I'm like, I don't even know where to look. I don't even know what to consume. Um, like I don't even know. And some
um,
days I'm like, to get out of bed and survive, today I
yeah.
need to not. Today I need to
Mm,
not look at the media as much. And that's a privilege to be able to do that and to say that because it's not currently at my doorstep at this current moment in time. But um it is uh, inside of the trust recession on a broader scale, right? I think it has perhaps never been more crucial to be asking ourselves the questions of who and what in my life is influencing me consciously
mm,
and unconsciously. Because the reality is, while there is a trust recession, so a lot of what that means is that we are less there's like less available trust. At least this is my definition. I haven't rooted this in
yeah.
any academic research or anything, but there's less available trust in a micro and a macro sense, and people are being much more, therefore, conservative with it, right? And so, but that doesn't mean that there isn't still trust, right? Like I am still tending to trust that I still trust. Do you know? I don't know how international her public profile is. Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez,
I
the
do. I
senator.
know.
You do? Okay. I was just saying.
Yeah.
I feel like I mean, she's big in my world. But
She's big in my world even, but yeah, no,
okay,
I
fabulous. Not everyone. So, for anyone who is listening who does not know who AOC, she's typically called, but AOC is a Democratic Senate House. Now I'm doubting myself. House
she's
member.
a
She's a
congresswoman,
senator,
isn't
isn't
she?
she is a congresswoman. I was trying to say whether she's in the House of Representatives or the
Oh
Senate.
yeah.
I should know, and I don't remember. But
Mm,
she is a congresswoman from New York, and she's incredible. I mean, I don't actually know. I think so, based on what I know. She is an example of a public entity who, via her public-facing channels as a congresswoman,
mm,
um, I still trust. And so when I see media come up about her, when I see I'm on her like text newsletter. I'm on her email newsletter because I don't live in New York anymore, but I did. And so I've gotten to vote for her a handful of times. But she is someone who I still trust, right? And so that is shaping my interaction with her content and
Mm,
my receiving of these emails, etc. That is shaping, that is influencing me.
hmm.
I think for the better, I think for good, I think I'm right. But if we're thinking about, I just think it's really important to even see that's an example of like a directly political leader, but also if you're working in a corporate environment still,
Yeah.
what's the culture there? Who is impacting you? I'm thinking about my last corporate job many moons ago, but the leaders, I mean, gosh, 10 years ago when I was in my corporate job, I I will perhaps never get over this. It makes me laugh at this point, but in the real time, I was so enraged because I was told after a client dinner, I was told by my boss that I shouldn't talk about anything particularly hot button. God, I wish I could remember the exact language, but it was something like that. I shouldn't talk about particularly hot button things, like just stay away from anything too, like divisive or what have you. And she's saying all of this, and I'm kind of like, okay, heard. And I'm going back through my memory. I'm like, what did I talk about abortion? Like, what did I talk about that I'm not
Yeah,
like,
was
what
it
did I
something
do?
like really out there that
What
people are like,
did I say? Like, I do, like, was it global warming? I'm like, genuinely, I'm like, literally, what did I talk about? I don't know. And so I'm listening internally, being like enraged. Internally, I'm like, I am so upset at someone policing my conversation. Um,
yeah.
but then when she got through her spiel about what I was not to do and her feedback, I said, okay, heard. Could you give me an example? Because I'd come up with nothing. I was like, I'm enraged no matter what your note
Yeah.
is. I'm
Yeah.
pissed no matter what. But also, I feel so confused as to. And the thing that was hot button
Oh no.
was my vegetarianism.
Oh
My
no.
vegetarianism that had been brought up because we were at a steakhouse and I was
Yeah.
the only one not eating steak. I didn't bloody well bring it up, right? Anyway, I
And
can
people ask
clearly still get
questions about
myself.
it. They're like,
They
why
were
aren't you
like, "What
having
are
a
you
steak? You're
doing?"
like, well, actually,
And then,
this.
I don't eat meat. And I said, I don't eat meat. End of sentence. Oh, why don't you eat meat? Because people always want to know, how long has it been? I've been vegetarian since I was 11. I've had this conversation thousands of times. And depending
Oh,
on the archetype, these were like middle America white dudes who worked at a tire company
right.
eating steaks.
Pixelated. Yep.
So exactly. So they want to like, does this gross you out holding the steak up? And I'm like, no, I'm good. Been
Yeah.
dealing with this since I was in middle school. Thank you very
Yeah.
much for being just like the 13-year-old boys I went to school with. So
And these
anyway,
and these men are in charge of companies. It's fine. Yeah.
yeah, completely fine, right? But in those moments
Oh,
where your, job, your stability, your income, that's the word I'm going for, where that relies on you maintaining a certain degree of status and decorum, right?
hmm.
Where you trust and where you're influenced and how that shapes you is it's something to be quite it's something that we all need to be, I think, or I don't know, need to be. God, I feel like, what right do I have to tell anyone what they bloody well need to be doing at this point? Like,
Yeah.
survive, dude. Survive however you can, and like, let's all live to fight another day and choose to believe that these dystopian times will
Mm.
dissolve and dissipate and shift back
It'll
into,
shift. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, sooner than later. But I think it behooves us. It is useful for those of us who are looking for that shift, and not keen on the direction that our species is heading. Um, I think it's really useful to look at what is influencing me. And you've got to
Mm.
keep yourself safe because if you are at a job where you two are not allowed to talk about being vegetarian because it is too hot button, then okay, maybe you need to, you need to keep yourself safe, keep your finances safe. Um,
Yeah.
you need to do that, but also, right, who else are you putting your trust in? Where else are you able to
Exactly.
safely vent and express so that, your own our brains are plastic, our expectations are plastic, and that's the thing we've seen with every, maybe not every, okay, with many giant human rights atrocities, with many giant horrifying times that we've navigated as a species, right? It happens slowly. It happens in the
Mm.
tiny little micro moments of ICE invading Chicago, like, and the National Guard invading, like, that it happens in these little moments that feel little enough in real time. The little moment of not saying something to your boss, I'm not saying, I mean, I don't know, but when we're looking at, I think, trust and where we're being influenced and who we're trusting and where we're being influenced, those are such important things to look at right now, especially if you are in any position of leadership, like whether that's professionally or you have kids or you're on the PTA or you're part of your homeowners association, whatever. Like, honestly, all of us have positions of influence. All of us have places where we lead to varying degrees.
Mm.
Um, and so I just think it's really important to be doing that self inventory of where am I being influenced and how is that numbing me to
Yeah.
things or pushing me toward more silence or more complicity in, not standing up for things that I'm like, actually, I do know that that's incorrect. I do know that
Yeah.
treating our clients that way is incorrect and it might be small, but it's not right. Or that employee, I know that that's not the way that it should be and I don't want to let all this external noise and the trust recession influence who I am and distort who like my humanity. End rant.
Yeah, the that was a great rant because it's the standard we follow is the standard we set. Like,
Yeah,
it's not about
yeah,
what we wish internally, but it's the one that we follow as well. Like,
yeah,
and this is about discernment in what feels right for us at any point, even though like it's so
yeah.
big now. I remember, God, every time I think about how long ago something was, I'm rudely reminded of like not that I feel old, but it's just I'm
I
like, oh, that
understand.
was
I
13 years ago.
understand.
But like it was
Yeah.
about 13 years ago. I was in a role and I said good morning to the CEO and
Yeah.
I called him by name and it was like the
Hmm.
difference between Jess and Jessica. So like I'm not going to use his name, but like, his name
Yes.
was Jessica. I called him Jess because some other people did too. And also that's just
Yeah.
me. Like
Yeah.
like it's to me that's not inappropriate unless he's directly said, oh,
Of
can you call me
course.
Jessica? I prefer being called
Right.
like, like preferred names, right? But
Yes.
I said like, oh, good morning, Jess. Like, how was your weekend? And I remember a middle manager said to me, oh, that was a bit inappropriate, wasn't it? And I'm like, sorry, why? And she's like, oh, it's a bit familiar. I'm like,
Mm. Oh,
and I am respectful of like I'm not an anarchist. I'm respectful of authority, but I also have like enough of a don't tell me what to do in me when it's stupid things. And I term that
yes.
as a stupid thing because it's like this isn't literally isn't harming anyone. If this person had a problem about it, but like that was like a core moment for me, like obviously a core moment because I'm bringing it up now all these years later, but like for me going, what is advice or direction I am willing to take and learn from, and what
Mm.
is something that's actually going to reinforce what I value? And for me, that was like a form of connection that was very appropriate. It wasn't like I was sliding up on his desk being like, hey, it was gross.
Hey,
It was like,
Jess. Yeah.
yeah, it was just like very casual walking through the open plan office, right? So it was like, oh,
Yeah.
hey, Jess, how you going? Like, did you have a good weekend? Like, I'm going to speak to you like I speak to everyone else with respect.
Hmm. Because you speak to everyone else with respect as well.
Exactly. And it's, it's even those little things in how do we, like, even for the hot button topics, but someone had deemed this a hot button topic in a way, like,
Hmm.
so I think it's how we connect is really determining what do we value. And
Mm.
I've even had, I've had someone reach out to me after a long time who is in the States
Hmm.
and say that they regret voting the way that they voted. And I like, and that was like a moment for me on the other end of that, like, just messaging interaction. But I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm just gonna, in this case, approach it with like the empathy of, I'm so sorry things are so screwed up there for you guys at the moment. It seems so scary, you know,
Yeah.
because I didn't want to have, like, I'm not looking for, but also like, I don't know, who am I? Like, it's just this, how do we connect while still acknowledging where mistakes might have been made or where harm might have been done. And this
Yeah.
is obviously a very nuanced piece. So like this isn't going to apply everywhere. There's some people that
Yeah.
I want, like put away.
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
but
There are certain atrocities that are like, no, the punishment is large. The punishment is
yeah,
large for that, and you should not have power and complete agency to continue causing harm.
yeah, exactly. But
Sometimes that's how it goes.
but I think in leadership in a very basic outside of the political sphere, even though it touches all of our lives, in
Sure.
leadership, how we lead at any level in any capacity, whether we have the title or not, is yeah, what standard are we leading by? Are we setting? Because
Yeah.
that's the one that is going to exist.
Right.
And I don't know, I
Exactly.
feel like that builds trust because it's more real. It's more, but it's not trying to manipulate trust either. It's just well, I can't be anything other than this. Like I'm gonna call you Jess. Unless you
Right.
say your preferred name, and then I'll call you your preferred name, and that's cool. Like that,
Right.
yeah, it's just
Well, and I think so much of it is about in this broader leadership, like stepping away from any of the, the political
mm,
madness that is currently inside of the
yeah.
US and trickling out to the rest of the world. Outside of that, in leadership in a corporate environment, or I feel like parent teacher, like school and home
Mm,
owner examples are such good examples of this. Because one of the things that I really believe corrodes trust, and it's the same in my business, small business ecosystem, one of the things that really corrodes trust and corrodes and prevents trust from even being able to exist in the first place is lack of safety around how do we disagree or
mm.
have conversations when we maybe don't even disagree but don't understand, right? Like this moment of Jessica,
Yeah.
or I'm a vegetarian.
Mm.
Like those moments for both you and I were like, what? I'm sorry, I was
Truly.
inappropriate? Are
Yeah.
you? And we both were like, you're ridiculous. It sounds like I don't want to put words in your mouth, but for me, I was
It
genuinely like, what?
it was that feeling. It wasn't, yeah, it was just like I don't get it. Like, no.
And in those moments when it's small, right? In those moments, most of the time, especially if you are not in the position, especially when you are not the leader, right?
Yeah.
Challenging that, it feels typically easier to be like, okay,
Hmm.
and then just go and message your friends in the office and be
Or
like,
talk
oh my
about it
God,
on
you're
a
never
podcast
gonna
13
believe,
years later.
talk about it on a podcast. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oh God, I hope both of our bosses, I don't, mine will never hear this, but I hope it would crack me up. It would crack me up.
Yeah.
I could still text mine. I should text her, be like, hey, I talked about you on a podcast tonight. Um, she'd be like, why? She'd be very suspicious. Um, but truly, and I say, like, it's important, I think, to note that I, in the moment, I did feel tremendous animosity toward my boss. I
Mm,
felt incredibly mad at her. And
yeah.
I experienced tremendous judgment toward her. There was a lot of like, you are stupid. You are like, I had thoughts like that.
Yeah.
I'm not
Because
proud
you're
of this. I'm just being
human.
honest about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't love that that's what I thought, but I genuinely, yeah, that was a
Yeah.
lot of the language. And when that exists inside of an ecosystem, I that's where things can become really toxic. And trust cannot possibly bloom because we are going to disagree with one another and be confused by one another and have different definitions of what is not appropriate to call someone and what is not appropriate to talk about at dinner with a client. Like, and
Mm,
even if you have the most ridiculously thorough SOP document with every single scenario out, even if you have that, there will be things we didn't think about. And
mhm.
so in any leadership position, and this is, I think, especially true why the like PTA or homeowners are such great examples of it, because they're so uh they there's so much less operationalized a lot of the time, and we're also
Yeah.
dealing with issues, kiddos and schooling, or homes and like shared community space. We're dealing with
Yeah.
issues where there are so many of our own deep-seated opinions that most of us have like never even super consciously thought about or wrestled with, right? And then we like
Yeah.
have this person who completely disagrees with us, and we're just
Yeah.
like, you are saying the sky is yellow, and I cannot possibly fathom how dumb you must be. What? Right. And we get irate because we don't know. So that's why I think they're just such useful examples
Mm,
to look at, like the leadership and how this, how important this is. Because if you have a agreed upon, relatively safe, not necessarily comfortable, but relatively safe process where we agree, okay, I agree, and you agree that when we disagree, you can tell me, I'm having a really hard time with that feedback. I'm having a really hard time understanding, and it really doesn't match my experience. And I don't need this to be a big deal, but it is for my system right now. It is feeling a big deal for me. So can we set a different time to talk about this? Whatever. Like,
yeah.
if we
Yeah.
have that agreed upon, then
Smooth sailing. Like
so much is
smoother sailing.
different. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, so much is different. And so wherever you're leading, God, it's even true, like if you're in a relationship, like a romantic partnership, like the number of times my partner and I have conversations like that of like, I feel really enraged with you right now, and I recognize it's
Mhm.
perhaps ridiculous. Can we take a beat? And like, we do our best to try to be like, I am feeling very
Yeah.
spicy feelings right now. And,
Yeah.
but we have this shared thing that like, okay, this is how we lead together in our
Mm,
relationship and sharing our home and whatever of like, I find it really confusing that you don't make the bed when I've asked you to. And
yeah.
let's like, can we have a process about that, you know?
Yeah. I teach that
Um,
as like learning, like building a common language with each other. So you
yeah,
can use
yes,
words like I've used that with previous housemates. We had a word where it was, I feel spiky today. If something's just off,
yeah,
like unexplainable, nothing, you know, how you just, but it's got nothing to do with the other person. And both of us were
yes.
maybe just the kind of type where like, did I do something? You know, so we just
Mm-hmm,
learned to
mm-hmm.
say, like, if it's like, is everything all right? You okay? And if the other person's like, yeah, I just feel a bit spiky. It's like,
Spiky.
awesome. Awesome. We knew that as a
Yes.
common agreement. Like we agreed, okay, when one of us says that, it like it's got nothing to do with the other person. We just need a bit of space or whatever, and it's all good. Like that, as well as disagreement does not automatically equal disrespect. And personally, within my own realm of, I guess, values, is unless it's directly harmful to someone else.
Mm,
Like,
hmm.
disagreement does not just, the political atmosphere, like it's like, oh yeah, there's the caveat. Like, disagreement does not automatically equal
Right,
disrespect unless it
right.
is directly harmful or taking away from the human rights of somebody
Yes,
else.
right.
That's it. And it just like the world is still complicated, but it simplifies
Hmm.
my own positioning in that.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I just had a thought. I feel like some of this actually, I haven't had this thought. I haven't had this thought previously. So I love when this
Ooh,
happens in real
a
time.
brand new
Yeah, it's nice.
one.
It's nice. It's nice. I'm seeing a connection between, right, trust recession and part of your initial outreach with your
Mm.
hilarious Derek message. That's
Yeah.
now our inside joke.
Yeah,
I love that
never
you
trust
noticed
voice to
that.
text. Yeah.
I had a little bit of translation to do
Mm.
from Jess's initial outreach. Um, it was brilliant, though. I think I got what you meant. I think
I
it was
think,
supposed to be direct. I
yeah,
think,
like where
yeah.
here,
I
we're
feel like
here, so I think we got there.
yes, we got there. We got there. But I think one of the sort of pieces you were kind of wanting to dig into is
Mm.
questions around who we follow.
Yeah.
And so this idea of, disagreement doesn't inherently mean disrespect. I think it's so interesting how that plays out and how the experience of disagreement, especially in parasocial relationships or relatively parasocial relationships that happen on social media, right?
Mhm.
I feel
Mhm.
so weird saying like parasocial relationships with myself because I'm not bloody famous. I'm not. But the truth is, there are parasocial relationships. Like, there are a lot of
With people.
people
Yeah,
who know me and listen to me. I have no idea mostly who listens to my podcast. I have absolutely no
exactly.
idea.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there are hundreds of people on my email list. I do not know them all. And some of them come and
Mm.
go and unsubscribe. And like, I don't know them all. And many of them do know a lot more about me. And it's a curated sense of me, but I'm also a bit of an open book. And so I do
Yeah.
share some personal stories, whatever. Um, and it's so fascinating to witness the instantaneous trigger around canceling someone or getting so mad. I mean, goodness, the email replies that I've gotten over the years have been so much meaner and more comprehensive than the comments I've gotten. Oh God, yeah, I've gotten some nasty ones. I've gotten some nasty novellas in the years.
Oh,
Um, yeah, yeah, not many, but ones that
enough.
were very, yeah,
Mm.
enough that they have lived in my body for sure.
Oh,
But it's all good. I genuinely laugh about them pretty much at this point.
yeah.
But if one came tomorrow, it would give me some feels for a minute. I'm far less, but that's the thing though. I'm far less sensitive about it now because I think this goes two ways, right? As people who decide to be in leadership positions, whether that is in a corporation or because you use your voice on a podcast or on your social media channels, or you send emails or you have a Substack, whatever it may be, you write a book, whatever. Um, Being people in leadership positions means we will get, particularly if you have a digital presence, more disagreement from people.
Mhm.
And I, for the majority of the last decade, took every single bloody piece of it from even like an unsubscribe. I took
Oh,
the
yeah.
disagreement of an unsubscribe so personally. I took it so personally as disrespect. Like, it crushed me,
Yeah.
crushed me. And realizing now, and some of this is just straight up nervous system work. I've got a much wider window of tolerance now than I did a few years ago. In part because I've done some reps and had people say really unkind things about me, and then I've not died
Yeah,
about
we've
it.
survived.
So here we are. Here we are. But having having the internal realizing of disagreement doesn't mean disrespect. Disagreement doesn't mean I'm not safe. Disagreement doesn't have to mean anything, doesn't have to mean I've done anything wrong,
Mm,
even. It might, but having that internal recognition, I think, is really valuable as leaders, again, in whatever sphere we're leading, particularly online. But I think it's also really, really useful to look at on the counter side. Um, do you follow, gosh, what is her name? She is an Aussie. PETA is her first name. Oh, no, I'm not going to be able to think about it. I'm going to have to send you her. I subscribed to her Substack and I can't remember her last name. But anyway, she's been
oh,
writing. Do you know? Is it ringing a bell?
yeah, I think I know who you're talking about. I can't think of a surname anyway. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think I know who you're talking about.
perhaps. She's been writing about long and short, not uh, be, my interpretation of it is taking less responsibility for other people's internet reactions to what
Mm,
she puts out into the world, and
yeah.
actually suggesting that we collectively, should be more responsible for navigating our own triggers of, and not for, but for essentially not expecting one person on one podcast or one Substack to thoroughly document
Yeah.
the entire nuance and say it completely correct. Um,
Hmm.
and it's funny, when I first read it, I still got a little triggered. I was like, oh, I don't know. It might still be my job. I might have to manage. I don't know. I don't know. I might have to. What if they get mad at me? What if I do it wrong? What if?
Yeah.
A few weeks ago, like this was recently, as I'm saying, I have a wider window of tolerance. I do, but there is this really from both sides, I think, as consumers, when we're
Mm,
looking at who we're trusting, who am I trusting by following them, by continuing to receive information from them, by continuing to invite them into my inbox or my ears. I think a really useful thing to look at, an important thing to look at, is also like, where am I, or how am I making sure I retain my own agency around my own regulation and the way that I'm like affected by the information that I consume and affected by the relationships,
mm,
parasocial and otherwise, that I choose to be in. And I think, I don't know, for me, this thought is, it's a new one, so obviously it's still a bit viscous and crystallizing, but there's something about you, the way you said disagreeing is not disrespect, that
mm.
feels like there's a really useful way to carry that over, both as consumers of content on the internet and people having parasocial relationships on the internet, and as leaders on the internet and in corporations and PTAs, etc. I don't know if that
Yeah,
made a
we
lick of sense,
no,
but it
it
felt like a
does.
ding for
It
me.
it is like, and I think to sort of wrap up because we're sort of I could keep
Hmm.
talking about this, but like it is about we can't address every single potential angle and I still will say like sometimes several times throughout a podcast episode I'll be like, all right, so like this is just from my like, but it's like I can only speak to my experience or what we know maybe academically or like I can only speak to that. I try my best, but we can't sit there going, all right, so like this before we actually get to the damn point. Like we have to trust that other
Right.
people are intelligent enough. Sometimes
Yeah.
like the people that are reading it, like individually, can be intelligent enough to trust maybe that,
Yeah.
we like that is the intention, even though like
Yeah.
there's this balance of we need to try our best, but also trust that that's the intention always as best
Yeah.
we can. But also sometimes we just have to speak to a certain subset of our audience and just to help them get the point across, like it's about sometimes we just have to communicate It's like if I was trying to say something to you, but I was saying it to a whole group of people that I don't know, you wouldn't necessarily get the point of what I'm trying to say because I'm not just
Exactly.
talking to you. So it is that. And then there's also the element of when we trust people and when we follow people and trust people or buy from people or let people lead us or whatever it is,
Hmm.
we shouldn't put them on a pedestal where everything they do we have to agree with, or every opinion they have we
Yeah.
have to agree with. There can be key ones for sure. Like again, going back
Hmm.
to the what's the real but we cannot, like, if someone doesn't like the same artist or they didn't like, whatever it was, it's like, cool. That doesn't make them better than me, doesn't make me better than them. Like, it's just it's subjective and that's harmless.
Yeah.
Like, like that
Yeah.
is truly harmless. And that is okay.
Yeah.
Things like that where it's like we don't need to agree literally 100% with the people that we trust or follow or like any of that. We there should be no pedestal in that way of, oh, what they say is 100%
Right.
correct, because they will always disappoint us
Hmm.
if we do that.
Even
If
if we
we do
don't
that.
have them on the, even if we don't, they
Mm,
will probably disappoint us
yeah,
because they're human. And if
yeah,
they don't love the same restaurant that we did, or go to the
exactly.
same event, or they have a low energy day and they're a bit spiky, to borrow your
Yeah.
term, when you
Yeah.
meet them in person, whatever, like, yeah, they'll disappoint us. They will. That's okay.
Or to reframe
But
it,
yeah,
we will feel
yeah.
disappointed, not like, because they are just
Yes,
being nice.
yes. Bring
We
the
will feel
responsibility
disappointed.
back.
Mm.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, speaking of following, nice little segue. How can people follow your work, connect with you if they want to connect with you or work with you or your incredible services? Where can they find you?
Yeah, if you're ready to be disappointed by me, because I will fail you. It's the most compelling pitch I've perhaps ever given.
Amazing.
I'm sure I will. I am sure I will absolutely do something wrong. I don't know. I am vegetarian. I've shared a lot of my opinions at this point. I'm both a dog and a cat person, though, so I'm evenly in the middle
Well-rounded.
there.
Yep.
Yeah, well-rounded in the animal department. At any rate, I am at Chelsea.Quint on Instagram and Threads on the social platforms. Those are the biggest places I'm present there. And The Resonance Effect is my podcast. That's pretty much available anywhere podcasting is. That's probably the main place to hear me yap and get a good
Mhm.
sense of what my work is about and test it out for yourself. And then my website is business-whisperer.com.
Amazing. I'll put all of those links in the show notes anyway, but thank you so much for joining us and for just yapping with me because there was so
My
much in it.
pleasure.
And I think this is such a good conversation for people to like listen to. And I say that unbiased, but like, listen to, but also absorb and explore how they want to have their own conversations in this way. Because that is the whole point. Like we
Yeah.
can't lose that art. It is an art, it is a practice, but if we have the black and white binary thinking, we risk losing it. So thank you
Yeah.
for helping remind